know that there's a part of space that tastes like raspberries and smells like rum? There's a lot happening in space that you don't know. From black holes that can contain over 1 billion suns to stars you'd never be able to see, here are some mysterious facts about space. If your spacesuit has a hole, you could survive for a couple of minutes, but it wouldn't be so easy. Movies like Total Recall make it look like people would explode or puff up like giant balloons, but that's not exactly how it works. It's terrible, but not as bad as the movie tries to paint it. After about 10 seconds, you'd pass out because there's no oxygen in space to keep your brain working. With no air pressure, the liquids in your body, like the spit on your tongue and even your blood, would start to boil. It's like opening a soda and seeing bubbles fizz everywhere, except this would be happening inside you. Your veins would hold things together so you wouldn't pop, but your body would puff up like a bag of chips. But it wouldn't just end there. Space is a vacuum, so while it's extremely cold, so your body would cool off fast and your eyes might freeze like tiny ice cubes. After a minute or two, the lack of oxygen would be too much and you wouldn't make it. If the hole in your suit appeared suddenly, the change in pressure could also mess up your lungs, blow out your eardrums, and leave you seriously injured like you'd been hit by a falling brick. So while you could hang on for a few minutes, space without a working suit is a death trap. It's one ride you don't want to take. And speaking about rides, can you believe some planets don't need a parent star? Not all planets need a star to call home. In fact, astronomers think there could be over 200 billion rogue planets moving around the galaxy, completely free of any parent star. Some of these loners got kicked out of their original solar systems, while others formed outside a planetary system or from a failed star. As shocking as this sounds, it doesn't beat the mysterious fact that Neptune, the 8th planet from the Sun, is so far away that it takes 165 years to make one full orbit. When it was discovered in 1846, it started its first discovered orbit, but it didn't finish that lap until 2011. Pluto, now considered a dwarf planet, is even slower. It takes Pluto 248 years to orbit the Sun, which means it hasn't even made it halfway around since it was found in 1930. So, while we measure time in days and years, these distant planets live in a totally different time zone, one where a year lasts longer than several human lifetimes. If you're thinking about living longer, you could try one of these places, just that you wouldn't even be able to settle because there's no gravity. Speaking about gravity, there is gravity in space, even though it might not look like it. Astronauts on the International Space Station seem to float around like they're in a zero-gravity zone. However, the gravity up there is only about 10% weaker than Earth's. So why are they floating? It's because the ISS is in a constant state of freefall, like a skydiver before they pull their parachute. You know what that looks like? But here's the twist. The ISS isn't just falling straight down, it's also zooming sideways at super high speeds. As it falls, Earth's curve gets out of the way at the same rate, keeping the ISS in orbit. This creates that weightless feeling astronauts experience, even though gravity is still doing its thing. Now for a more cosmic shocker, there are stars out there that we will never see. Since the Big Bang, the universe has been expanding, and that expansion is speeding up. Some of the first stars to form after the Big Bang are now so far away that their light will never reach us, not even with the best telescopes humanity can think of. But all hope isn't lost. When those ancient stars reach the end of their lives, they send out powerful bursts of energy. By catching those signals, scientists can still learn about the stars we'll never see. One of these stars astronomers are particularly interested in is the neutron star, which weighs more than our planet's population. A neutron star is one of the most compact things in the universe, and its weight is beyond imagination. 1 teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh more than everyone on Earth combined. That's over 1 trillion kilograms. To put that in perspective, if you wanted to make something as dense as a neutron star, you'd have to put the entire human population into a space no bigger than a sugar cube. Now, that's crazy, but wait until you discover that the moon isn't a perfect sphere. Even though it looks round in the sky, it's shaped more like a lemon. Its poles are slightly flattened, and bulges around the equator are on both the side facing Earth and the far side. Scientists think this unusual shape formed because of interactions with Earth billions of years ago when the moon was still young and molten. So, next time you look at the moon, just remember, you're staring at a giant space lemon, one that's even slowly drifting away from Earth. Every year, the moon moves about 3.8 centimeters farther into space, roughly the width of 2 fingers. This is because of a cosmic tug-of-war between Earth and the moon. The moon's gravity pulls on Earth, creating tides and even stretching our planet slightly into an egg shape. The oceans form a tidal bulge that gets dragged around as Earth spins faster than the moon orbits. This bulge ends up slightly ahead of the moon, and the moon's gravity pulls back on it, trying to slow Earth down. As Earth loses energy and slows its spin, the moon gains that energy, which causes it to spiral outward bit by bit. This process also means Earth's days are getting longer, very, very slowly. As our spin slows down, it takes longer to complete one full rotation. Right now, the difference is tiny. But in 100 years, a day will only be many seconds longer, and in 1,000 years, just 0.02 of a second longer. It's not much, but over millions of years, it could really add up. Are you aware that Uranus is the coldest planet in the solar system, even though Neptune is farther from the Sun? Shouldn't the farthest planet be the coldest? Scientists are still trying to figure out why Uranus holds this icy title. One idea is that Uranus lost most of its original heat long ago, leaving it without much internal warmth. Another theory points to its atmosphere, which might trap less heat than Neptune's. And then there's the planet's bizarre tilt. Uranus is tipped on its side, almost rolling around the Sun instead of spinning upright like most planets. Uranus looks like a plain blue ball in solar system models, but it's one of the weirdest planets out there. Unlike the other planets, Uranus rotates on its side, almost like it's rolling around the Sun. Scientists think this weird tilt, nearly 90 degrees compared to the other planets, was caused by a massive collision billions of years ago. This sideways spin also gives Uranus the most extreme seasons in the solar system. For about 21 Earth years at a time, which is a quarter of Uranus's 84-year orbit, the Sun shines non-stop on one pole while the other is plunged into complete darkness. Imagine living somewhere where it's daylight for 20 years and then 21 years of night. This weird tilt might have something to do with its cold temperatures, but no one knows for sure. Speaking of strange spins, Venus is another planet that breaks the rules. Compared to the other planets, it spins backward. Most planets rotate in the same direction they orbit the Sun, but Venus decided to be different. However, scientists believe it was probably hit by a massive object billions of years ago, flipping its spin. That's not all. Venus also spins slowly. One day on Venus is 243 Earth days long. This means Venus takes 243 Earth days to complete one full spin on its axis. One day on Venus. But here's the wild part. Venus only takes 225 Earth days to travel all the way around the Sun, making its year shorter than its day. Imagine a day lasting longer than a year. Venus is the solar system's oddball, and we still lack answers about it. Another unanswered question is, what are the vast oceans in space? Earth's oceans don't seem so special anymore. Several moons in our solar system also have massive underwater seas. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, has an ocean with more than twice Earth's water. Ganymede, Callisto, Enceladus, and Titan also have subsurface oceans. But the biggest ocean discovery wasn't even made in our solar system. It's 12 billion light-years away. This region has 140 trillion times the water vapor of Earth's oceans. Space is full of surprises, and there's way more water out there than we had ever thought. Another surprising and mysterious fact is that black holes give off light. Black holes have extremely strong gravity that pulls in anything that gets too close. Once something gets too close, it's trapped forever. Black holes are so dense that not even light can escape their gravity, but do you know they can still shine brightly? This sounds like a contradiction, but it's one of the ways astronomers find black holes in the universe. Supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies, active galactic nuclei, can illuminate their surroundings. When material like gas and dust gets pulled towards a black hole, it forms an accretion disk that spins around it just outside the event horizon, which is the point of no return. As this material gets closer, it heats up to extreme temperatures. This causes it to glow, producing light seen across the universe. Sometimes, black holes even shoot powerful jets of material into space, traveling at nearly the speed of light. So, while the black hole itself is invisible, the chaos around it lights up the darkness, revealing its presence in the most dramatic way possible. Black holes also have their own twin in space, and scientists call them white holes. Instead of sucking everything in, white holes would spit light and matter out like a cosmic fireworks show. Nothing could get inside a white hole, it would blast things away non-stop. If black holes are like giant no-escape zones, white holes are like no-entry zones. However, here's where things get tricky. No one has actually seen a white hole. They're just a big what-if for now, an idea scientists are still trying to figure out. Could a black hole eventually become a white hole? Could white holes be hiding somewhere out there in space? Right now, they're just a mystery, a cool possibility that makes space feel even more mind-blowing. So, while black holes get all the attention, white holes might be the next big discovery? What do you think? Are white holes real, or is it just another crazy space theory? We can't say for now, but one other mysterious fact about space is that the Milky Way contains a cloud of gas that smells like raspberries and rum. In 2009, astronomers discovered a giant cloud of gas and dust in the center of the Milky Way, which was full of a surprising chemical, ethyl formate. This is the stuff that gives raspberries their sweetness and also gives rum its smell. So space has a cloud that's a cosmic cocktail of fruity and boozy aromas. Nearby, there's another region full of ethyl alcohol, the same stuff we use to make drinks on Earth. There's so much of it that it could supply every person with 300,000 pints of beer daily for the next billion years. That's a lot of booze. However, don't get too tipsy about this space bar. The booze is mixed with nasty stuff like carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide, so it's not exactly drinkable. Still, a raspberry-scented, rum-flavored cloud in space is pretty cool, right? Still, that's not as cool as the fact that Mars used to be a planet of giant volcanoes. In the 1800s, people thought Mars was like Earth. Some even thought forests, rivers, and aliens lived on our neighboring planet. A scientist named Percival Lowell was so convinced he spent hours staring at Mars through his telescope in Arizona, convinced he could see canals built by some advanced civilization. But everything changed in the 1960s when spacecraft returned the first close-up pictures of Mars. It turns out that Mars isn't the paradise that people hoped for. It's a dry, dusty, and lifeless world with some big volcanoes. The biggest is Olympus Mons, the biggest volcano in our solar system. It is a volcano the size of Arizona. About 22 kilometers tall, nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest, and 100 times bigger than Mauna Loa, Earth's largest volcano in Hawaii. But why are Mars's volcanoes so huge? Scientists think it's because gravity on Mars is much weaker than Earth's. This lets the volcanoes pile up taller without collapsing under their own weight. Plus, while Earth's crust is always moving, Mars's crust probably doesn't move at all. On Earth, the Hawaiian Islands formed because the crust slid over a hot spot, creating a chain of volcanoes. On Mars, with no crust movement, a volcano could keep erupting in the same place for millions of years, growing bigger and bigger. So while Mars might look quiet now, its surface is like a graveyard of mighty volcanoes frozen in time. Although you might also want to know that Mars used to be filled with water. Mars might look dry and dusty now, but scientists know it wasn't always that way. Mars likely had flowing rivers, lakes, and even oceans long ago. There's still water on Mars today, but it's mostly trapped as ice in the polar caps or hidden in underground aquifers. So, what happened? Where did all the water go? The answer is climate change, but not the kind we discuss on Earth. Billions of years ago, Mars had a much thicker atmosphere. This thicker air helped trap heat and kept liquid water flowing on the surface. But over time, Mars lost much of its atmosphere, becoming thinner and thinner. Without a protective blanket of air, water on the surface couldn't stay put. It evaporated, and sunlight broke the water molecules apart. The lighter parts, like hydrogen, escaped into space, leaving the planet dry. Still, the water isn't completely gone. Future astronauts might drill just a few yards below Mars's surface and find liquid water hidden in underground aquifers. And here's where it could get exciting. If water is still there, could tiny life forms, microbes, be living there too? If so, it would be the first sign of life on another planet, which would be huge. Another huge fact about space is that there are some stars that are bigger than the Sun. The Sun is way bigger than Earth and even the massive Jupiter. But when you compare the Sun to these huge stars in the universe, it looks like a marble next to a beach ball. One of these giant stars is called Scuti, a red hypergiant and one of the biggest stars ever discovered. If Scuti were to take the Sun's place in our solar system, its outer edge would stretch past Jupiter's orbit. That means it would swallow Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and even the asteroid belt like they were nothing. And it's not just huge, it's also blindingly bright. Scuti shines 300,000 times brighter than our Sun. But it's so far away that it looks like another faint star in our night sky. So, while our Sun might seem big to us, stars like Scuti remind us just how gigantic and mind-blowing the universe is. Of all these mind-blowing universe facts, nothing beats the fact that there's a secret and hidden planet at the solar system's edge. Astronomers think there might be a huge planet lurking way out beyond Neptune, and they call it Planet 9. It's still just a theory for now, but it could explain why some icy objects in the Kuiper Belt, the zone of frozen rocks beyond Neptune, are moving in odd ways. In 2015, scientists Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown from the California Institute of Technology suggested that a giant hidden planet could be causing this strange behavior. If Planet 9 exists, it's probably several times bigger than Earth, and astronomers think they might find it within the next decade. But wait, it gets even crazier. Some scientists think Planet 9 might not even be a planet. Instead, it could be a tiny black hole, no bigger than a grapefruit but so dense that its gravity bends space just like a massive planet would. However, other researchers have a different idea. They think the weird motions in the Kuiper Belt could be caused by the combined influence of many smaller objects, not one giant planet or black hole. Whether it's a planet, a black hole, or something else entirely, the mystery of Planet 9 has scientists buzzing with excitement. After all, discovering a hidden world at the edge of our solar system would be huge. So, what do you think is out there? A giant planet or a tiny but powerful black hole? Let us know in the comments below.